You're listening to the Multiverse Fan Cast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fan Cast. If you guys are listening to us on the go, don't forget, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and your dad's iPod. Now, if you guys are new to the show, I'm Paul. I'm one of your hosts. With me in the studio today is Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you today?
I'm doing swell, kind sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And we also got Rob. Rob, how are you tonight?
I'm all warmed up and ready to go.
Yep, you were stretching for the last couple of minutes, and you know, before any physical activity, boys and girls, always make sure you stretch and don't eat anything 30 minutes prior. But anyway, speaking
I'm
of
hungry.
You're always hungry. Speaking of physical activity, we're going to jump right in. So, in conjunction with our Sam Raimi themed month,
Junction.
What is your function? Is the actual. We should do a new podcast starting where we talk about Schoolhouse Rock. Producer Melanie would actually be all about it, which is the weirdest thing. She loves Schoolhouse Rock.
Funny.
But since we're kind of doing our countdown to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we're talking a little bit more Sam Raimi. We had a little bit of a different episode last week where we talked about the Evil Dead 2 and Drag Me to Hell, which was a lot of fun. So in that vein, we're now tonight talking about Darkman. Now, Darkman, another Sam Raimi film, another cult classic, and one that, you know...
It's kind of superhero-ish, too.
It's superhero-ish. It's got a lot of different... It reminds me of a lot of different movies, so I'm excited to talk about it just because...
glad you think so. Good.
So it's weird because you're jumping into a group where everybody's got a little bit of a different perspective. So Rob was the architect behind Sam Raimi Month. Mm-hmm. So this was like one of his ideas. And then Ronnie just watched it for, I think, the first time?
Yes, I did.
And then I've seen it, I saw it years ago, years and years ago. So it's going to be an interesting look, an introspective of different perspectives that are going to be coming together for this episode. But obviously, before we do that, we have our news, and I hope a lot of it involves Ezra Miller getting arrested again.
That's actually the first thing on my list.
Oh, God,
So, yes, Ezra Miller has been arrested for a second time, at least. This time, and he's again in Hawaii. He had a second-degree assault, and this was less than 4 weeks after his last disorderly conduct. He was arrested a couple days ago after an incident at a private residence where patrol officers responded to a report of an assault that occurred at a get-together in the Leilani Estate subdivision. And according to the police, he became irate after being asked to leave, and he threw a chair and he hit a 26-year-old woman on the forehead with her, resulting in a half-inch cut. And this was at 1 in the morning, too, and nothing good happens after 1 or something like that. I forget what
you know what happens that's good after 1 o'clock? I'm still sleeping.
Yeah. So this does not bode well for the Flash, for the DC universe, because now the Flash is such a goody, like well-intentioned person, and to have such a bad boy portraying him almost kind of goes against the nature of that now. So I'm wondering how this is going to play out if they're. I think it might be too late to recast at this point.
It's too late to recast. The movie's done. It's in post. They're not going to be able to get Michael Keaton to like come back and do it. Like they can't reshoot an entire movie, especially with the main character. With a side character, they've done it. Like what was that movie with? I think they cut out Kevin Spacey completely.
Yeah, and they replaced him with Christopher Plummer,
which because he's a side character, you could do that. Like Baby Driver is another example. You could have cut out Kevin Spacey from that movie and reshot it.
Well, oddly enough, there's another movie that was just in production called Being Mortal, and there's complaints against Bill Murray, and now there's talk about them reshooting all around him, and he was one of the major characters.
There's another movie with Christopher Plummer. No,
well, he's dead.
No, so not Christopher Plummer. Frank Langella, excuse me.
Frank Langella.
Same thing where they're making complaints about him.
Well, Jeff Garlin on the Goldbergs, they cut him out now, and they just renewed it, and he's not in the renewal for that season.
Yeah,
so
I think
they're still using his like voice and stuff like that.
And some past footage.
To still have him like quote unquote in the show.
It's gonna be like you guys ever watch Muppet Babies?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like Nanny, where you don't see the actual person, you just see her feet.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you ever see the episode what they could do with the Flash? You ever see the episode of The Simpsons with Poochie?
No.
Where at the end, Poochie is like a third character to the Itchy and Scratchy show.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not very popular. And so what they do is like they Homer creates, he's the voice of Poochie, and he creates this big send-off speech, but they end up just like stopping the film and then raising the Poochie up into the sky, and it just says Poochie has gone back to his home planet.
Nice. Yeah. Or they can do what the Brady Bunch movie did to Cousin Oliver and Tiger. So for those of you guys who don't know, weird tangent. You can also listen to Cinematic Adventures. We talked about this in our Brady Bunch episode, but there's a running joke in both the Brady Bunch and Happy Days where they have characters that just disappear. In Happy Days, it was, who's the main character? Not Fonzie.
Richie Cunningham?
Richie Cunningham's brother disappears after the first season.
Oh, okay.
Never mentioned again. And in the Brady Bunch, it was Cousin Oliver and Tiger. They just disappear. So in the Brady Bunch movie, they make reference to it where they're like, oh, hey, it's Cousin Oliver and Tiger. Don't run out into the street. And you hear a car crash.
That's funny. I like the Brady Bunch movie because it is so self-aware.
It is. So on Cinematic Adventures, we did TV to movie month, and we picked different adaptation styles, and we did like the Flintstones movie, which is a real adaptation of the cartoon.
I remember John
That's
Goodman.
That's our highest downloaded episode on Cinematic Adventures.
I don't know what that says about you or about America.
I love the Flintstones movie.
And then we did
it is a guilty pleasure.
The more self-aware with the Brady Bunch. So we did different styles, and then we did like I think Dukes of Hazzard, which was a complete opposite of the show.
Yeah.
So check out Cinematic Adventures. We had a lot of fun.
Well, back to the Flash. To be honest with you, I feel like what they're gonna do is they're gonna secretly cast the next Flash. They're gonna do some sort of like shooting, and they're gonna just change the ending to the movie. This way, you keep everything that you already had, but you do some sort of ending where something happens where we get introduced to a new Flash.
You cannot anoint, you must flashpoint.
Well done. We're going to title that the episode. But there is a big push in the general community to have Grant Gustin just take over as the main continuity Flash. So no, they can't. They can't do it. There's too much baggage with the Flash TV show.
If he should have been the Flash before Ezra Miller got the shot, that's the only way I'd be okay with Grant Gustin.
He had his moment. I think you said that last episode.
It's too late, yeah. Just like how there's a big push for Matt Ryan to get cast in this new Constantine show they want to do on HBO Max. But again, there's a lot of baggage.
It's not like we don't like those guys as the character. It's just too much right now.
Again, we just want Keanu Reeves back in there. All right, on our next thing, I have this Spider-Man news. So recently, a man just broke a record for the most times a movie has been seen in a theater. He watched Spider-Man No Way Home 292 times. And then he broke another record, and he went and watched Morbius.
Well done.
I got to credit Seth Meyers for that joke. Sorry, but yeah, he spent 720 hours, which is the approximation of about 30 days. He has the Guinness World Record now for watching.
Why?
Because everyone's talking about him now for the next 20 minutes.
But like my thing is like, I feel like if I watch something that many times, I'm not going to like it, enjoy it anymore.
No.
So I'll be honest. When it became available on digital, I bought it. I bought Spider-Man. And same thing, once Batman was on HBO Max.
Sure.
But I find myself, I'm one of those people that I watch the movie in its entirety in theaters, but now I just watch the scenes that I like.
Yeah.
Especially for these long movies. Like,
that's different to me.
He might,
watching scenes or things, but like to sit there and watch.
He might. Well, you're assuming his eyeballs are consistently engaged with the screen. He might be napping like during some parts. So then he still went to. He went to the. It's the record for the most times a movie was seen in a theater, not for the most times he saw every minute of the movie in the theater.
But if you're not watching the movie, did you really see the movie?
Paid for the ticket. I know.
I'll go buy 300 tickets
actually,
or something, and
I found out he had one of those movie passes, and he just didn't have to keep paying. So.
Don't get me wrong. I love Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
but I can't watch it.
Not 292 times.
No, I could probably watch it 5 times at the most, maybe.
Yeah.
I would do a fun movie night.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. All of us get together and watch it.
Like Night Before Christmas, I watch every year, but it's like I just watch it. Around
Zack Snyder's
Halloween.
Justice League I've watched twice in its entirety.
Ooh.
So you have the record for hours.
So
it's one shift.
In our next bit, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness earned an official PG rating, and which we all expected.
You said PG.
Sorry, PG-13. Thank you
okay.
for correcting.
I was like, wait,
I have
what?
PG-13 written down here. I don't know why I said that.
I thought he was doing a bit, and I was waiting.
Yeah, I was like,
sorry.
what does PG stand for? Because it's definitely not.
It earned a PG-13 rating, and it's not so much the rating because we all knew it was going to get that, but it's for what it got rated for, and it's for intense sequences of violence and action, which okay, yeah, fine.
Yep.
Some language, right? Frightening images. Now, that tracks with a horror movie by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
I think,
just look at Doctor Strange Zombie Doctor Strange.
Yeah, we saw a picture of Zombie Doctor Strange, and it is creepily looking. So,
Yeah.
I just hope that this movie really brings in all the what if stuff. Like, really, at this point, we're so. Marvel was a little late to the multiverse stuff. Like we've discussed it more than once. Like DC really tackled it, and they tackled it hard first. Strangely,
and did a very good job with it.
Yeah, like Crisis on Infinite Earths was a lot of fun, and they like DC tackled it first. We know that, but it's going to be interesting to see how far they actually go with Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and right now it is projected to be pulling in its opening weekend between 190 and 210 million.
It's going to kill it.
Yeah, it's tracking very, very well.
You know, like especially with movie theaters being in full capacity after Spider-Man No Way Home, which COVID was still like a big thing during No Way Home. And still, we packed theaters.
I was in Florida, which was COVID central. So
no, they didn't have COVID there.
Oh, that's right.
It didn't exist.
Yeah,
Florida,
Florida. You couldn't tell. No one's wearing masks. Yeah. And then the biggest news this week is the new Thor: Love and Thunder trailer dropped. Which which kind of just came out of nowhere, which was great. You know, a lot of us were saying, myself included, that it was going to be at the end of Doctor Strange, and they decided not to do that. So, what are our thoughts on the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer?
Natalie
Ronnie?
Portman swole. Sorry.
Okay,
you're not Ronnie. I am.
Argue with me.
I just did.
Oh, fair.
I'll turn this podcast around right now. You stay on your sides.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I honestly am more excited for this than I am for Doctor Strange.
Oh, cool.
And maybe, Paul's probably going to hate me, maybe more excited for this than Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay.
All right.
That's totally fair.
Maybe. We got to see a little bit more.
So I know Rob hasn't said Paul yet, but I'm just...
No, go for it.
You know, I'm hosting the episode. I will... I can understand that. I totally can. The trailer, the teaser was exactly what it was supposed to be. It gave us just a little bit, and it showed us the moments that we wanted.
Yeah.
Him with the Guardians of the Galaxy, him getting back into shape.
With the chains.
That was great.
And then, you know, obviously Natalie Portman as Lady Thor.
Yeah.
With the reconstructed Mjolnir.
Yes.
And I'm excited. I'm very excited. You know, Thor was great, and to put him with the Guardians of the Galaxy makes sense.
Yes.
Because one of the biggest issues we had, especially in early Marvel, was, well, why didn't they just ask Iron Man for help?
Right.
Like all these things. It makes sense, and I'm excited. I'm very excited, and it looks like I'm. My only fear with this one is, it looks like Thor's going to be even doofier. Thor has gone through a very doofy progression.
Yeah,
and like don't get me wrong, the scene where like Peter Quill's like, you know, family is everything. Like, you should look into the eyes of the people you love, and Thor just comes in from off camera, and it's funny. Don't get me wrong; it's very funny, and I'm glad they realized that Chris Hemsworth is better as a comedic actor.
Yeah.
You know, we Ronnie and I did an episode of Multiverse Fan Cast for Ghostbusters years ago, and we mentioned that he was the one highlight.
Yeah, the only highlight. Yeah, but just to piggyback, I don't know what it is.
Get off me.
But they are geniuses when it comes to the music in the Thor movies.
I was wondering if that's why you connected with it so well.
Yeah, I mean, because every Thor movie, the soundtrack is just really good.
3 and 4, maybe.
I don't know about Dark World.
Or even the first one.
You don't think so?
The Shakespearean one?
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like they're always on point with their music.
Well, ever since Taika Waititi and what's his name, James Gunn are in there. You know, that's their soundtrack gods, the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, even Peacemaker, we'll always talk about Do You Want to
Yeah.
Taste
Oh,
It?
yeah.
But so
it looks like fun. I think it's interesting. I will say Thor Ragnarok, that trailer blew me away. This one was. It didn't blow me away, but I'm still very excited about it.
This was the teaser.
Yeah.
This is exactly what a teaser is supposed to be. We have had a lot of times where trailers have ruined the movie for us. Like, you know, and as much as I'll defend it, Batman vs. Superman, the second trailer ruined the movie.
Yeah.
Like, you knew what was going to happen. So,
that's why I'm just avoiding Multiverse of that's us. Multiverse of Madness trailers like the plague. Like, they put out lots of new stuff, and I'm like, nope, not watching it. Don't want to know.
I think the last thing I saw was in the movie theater. That was the last time I saw anything to do other than, like I said, off air. Me and my wife were watching TV, and like a TV spot came on for whatever.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Any
so
other
for it.
news?
Then that wraps up our news.
That's funny because
You got something I missed?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has officially been pushed back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Both it and its sequel have been pushed back. I forget the exact dates, but I think a full year almost.
Oof.
Yeah, big pushback for Spider-Verse. It's
Why?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
No, part
Delays released to June 2023.
Yeah,
it was supposed to come out in October 22.
So about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse. Thank you very much. Part 1 and Part 2. We're going to do we were supposed to do our Spider-Verse episode this year for it. We may still. I don't know. We'll check the schedule because there are plenty of other superhero movies that we could do.
Maybe they'll put Madam Web in there.
Madam Web did get a new release date.
A new release date, yeah.
So
Susan Sarandon just got cast in there.
I hate her.
What? Who hates Susan Sarandon?
I will discuss that with you
Paul
off air.
does.
Oh, is it her personal life?
Well, yeah, we'll discuss
Okay.
off air. But
I can get it then.
yeah, so that pretty much wraps up our news. But hey, Ronnie,
Hey, Paul.
do you like podcasting?
No.
Dang it!
Yes,
I
do.
like I likes the podcasting.
Oh
you
my god!
know I do.
Wow.
Why do you think I'm here all the time?
Just to hang out? I provide beer. Like
I thought it was for
No,
the snacks.
it's just for the podcast, not for you guys.
So if you guys are looking to start your very own podcast, maybe you have been listening to us for the past couple of years, or maybe you've always been interested in doing such a thing. We want to help you because we love our fans, we love our listeners, we love you guys. I mean, because you're both of those things, I guess. So if you guys are looking to start your own podcast, if you guys go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get a whole month, one free month of podcasting from us as a thank you to our loyal listeners. And obviously, if you want to start your own podcast, reach out to us, talk to us. We are always looking to add new shows, new content, new everything, not only to our podcast, but also our website, themisfitfaction.com, because Rob's reviews are killer, but we always want more content because I suck at writing. And I keep forgetting.
I don't know how to write.
Unless it's in crayon.
Yeah.
But also, if you guys have your own personal business, whether it's an online business, a plain brick and mortar business, if you guys are looking to do some advertising, podcasts are everywhere. There are literally hundreds of thousands of them, not nearly as good as ours, obviously. But if you guys are looking to get your voice out there and get your product or your service out there, if you guys go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get a free $100 of free advertising from us because we love you and we love your business, and we hope you guys take advantage of it and get in touch with us and let us know. But that wraps up the first part of our show. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are talking about Sam Raimi's Darkman. But first, quick break. Today's episode is brought to you by Raise energy drinks from Rep Sports. Whether you're trying to crush your afternoon workout or just need a little extra pick-me-up, Raise Energy is just the boost that you're going to need. So if you go to repsports.com and any product that you order, enter the code MISFIT89 at checkout to receive 15% off. Anything that you guys buy from that store helps our network grow, and we fully appreciate everything you guys do. That's MISFIT89 at checkout, repsports.com. All right, we are back, and like I mentioned in the intro, we are talking about another Sam Raimi foray into the superhero genre.
I like you named it on the podcast the Raimi-verse.
The Raimi-verse, yes, because there is also argument that Sam Raimi's movies have a little bit of interconnectivity.
Sure, it's the 73 Oldsmobile Delta 88.
Yes, it's the one. It's like a time point, like one of those like fixed points in time.
It's like the DeLorean.
Yes, but so we're talking about what year was it?
I believe it was 1990.
1990s Darkman.
I remember when Darkman was being promoted, and because I think it came out, I want to say in August of that year, and it was something that Raimi himself talks about how he didn't like the way the studio handled it except for the promotional stuff. He's like, this is great because they put out stuff that says who is Darkman, and it was just like this shadowy figure and everything, and we were all like really hyped up for this, and so I might have even seen this opening weekend in the movie theaters because it did open up to #1 that week, but then it like dropped after that because it's not a user friendly film, although it did. Wow, it opened the last week in August.
Yeah, August 24th.
So,
yep.
The end of the summer blockbuster phrase, when you're going into that fall Labor Day kind of cinematic run, it's interesting because in more recent years, September's a big. You
Right.
got like Shang-Chi. No, was it Shang-Chi or Black Widow?
No, Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it opened up in that September block, and they do well. September movies are not your throwaway.
And they didn't use to. You're right.
Yeah, like nowadays it's even like your January, February. Still, they'll release big blockbusters. Look at the Batman. Like they released that in what was it, February?
Yeah.
February or March,
yeah.
And that used to be where you sent movies to die, like your Oscar baits were really big around that time. Yeah. But so Darkman also was a financial success at the time. It was a $14 million budget because movies did not have like in the 1990s you did not throw $250 million at a movie and hope for the best.
No,
but it basically tripled its budget.
It did well enough, and it was it did well enough that Raimi said, you know what? Now I've got enough money and enough clout to go make Evil Dead 3.
Right.
And that's where Army of Darkness came from, because this was believe it or not, this was his first movie since Evil Dead 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was his big studio foray.
And this movie, we're not going to talk about them, but it does lead into a bunch of sequels because nobody from this movie lead into the sequel.
There's one. Just Larry Drake is in them, who plays Robert Durant.
You got Darkman 2, The Return of Durant, and Darkman 3, Die, Darkman, Die. Now, this was also the 90s.
Did you also see who starred as? Because Liam Neeson wasn't in those.
He was not.
Did you see who was?
Who was it?
Arnold Vosloo, I think is his name. He was in from the Mummy.
From the Mummy movies. Yeah. So this was the time of the anti-hero. The 90s was a huge time for two things in comic books. One was the anti-hero, and two was the gigantic armored looks. You had characters like the Punisher, and even Wolverine got an overhaul, and a big one was Azrael, who took over as Batman for a long time, John Paul Valley, and he had that huge hulking Batman suit. It was the time of big shoulder pads. Anti-heroes were the popular thing. It was we hate the system, grunge rock, Nirvana. Like this, this was the mentality of the 90s. A lot of people tend to forget it. They think movies like Clueless. They think movies, that Valley type, Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion. Like that was, those were your summer blockbusters. But also, if you were a comic book fan, you were looking at your anti-heroes, your Punishers, your Wolverines, your Venoms.
Speaking of anti-heroes, one of the big movies this summer in 1990 was Total Recall.
Again, another movie where the hero is an anti-hero.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be the hero. He's forced into it.
And anti-heroes are one of the most culturally fascinating aspects of comic book history. You have, there are characters that we still argue. Like, if you guys listen to our Netflix episode where we talked about Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and the Punisher, like, the three of us went back and forth about who was the better hero, basically, and who was not really a hero. So Darkman's an interesting take, and I feel like Darkman's a character that's really due for a revitalization. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about your experiences with Darkman.
Okay, so Darkman, I have to say, Darkman is something that I haven't seen in years, and I just got to rewatch it this week. So it was a lot of fun to revisit it. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie, and that's okay. It has sort of this goofy sensibility to it. It's very comic booky in that it doesn't take itself too seriously at any given moment, but it is taking itself very seriously throughout the entire thing at the same time. Yeah, I was in high school when this came out, so I was going into my junior year. It was exciting. This is before all the superheroes really were hitting big. In fact, this is the year after Tim Burton's Batman. So this is it's very, and it does have some of those Batman-esque aspects to it. In fact, Danny Elfman's doing the score, and the score sounds like Batman even. The history behind this is that Sam Raimi really, really, really wanted to do some sort of a superhero movie, and he wanted to do it around the Shadow. And he tried as hard as he could, and he couldn't get the rights for it. And so he said, all right, I'll just create my own, superhero, which is sort of, and he's very Shadow-like. And in fact, it was, I think, 3 or 4 years later that Alec Baldwin's The Shadow came out.
Even if you look at the characters, they look very...
They do.
This was also during the time, and not to cut Rob off, but this is during the time where superhero costumes were very simple.
Yeah.
The most extravagant were Batman and Superman at the time. And then you have, let's look at The Shadow. Let's look at who's based off basically the Spirit, which is the trench coat, the domino mask, and Darkman is not exactly like the most flamboyant looking of superheroes.
He kind of gave me like a Rorschach vibes too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you got the hat and the trench coat and the whole nine.
Like
yeah,
even like with the face, obviously he's got bandages while Rorschach doesn't, but it's like very similar too.
Yeah, he's and you started hinting at it in the beginning of the show, sort of the influences here. Now remember, he made this through Universal. Universal, Paul is nodding vigorously here. Universal owns the entire Monsterverse there.
Yes.
Just so you guys know, Sean from Cinematic Adventures, who's in a dead sleep right now, just woke up because you mentioned the Monsterverse.
Oh, really? He's a big fan of that?
Huge fan of the Monsterverse.
So, this is very similar to, like, you get Dr. Frankenstein vibes with the laboratory that he's got in that warehouse.
And the talking.
Yeah, and yes, and even the talking too. You get Invisible Man kind of vibes with the bandages and him, like, you know, talking to Julie and saying, you know, I don't want you to see what I've become. You get Phantom of the Opera vibes from him when he's constantly hiding and everything.
The way he moves.
Yeah, the way he moves. Like, and Raimi was a big fan of that Monsterverse.
This is based on a short story that he wrote with homage towards that whole Monsterverse.
Which I think gives this movie an advantage. Unfortunately, nowadays, comic book movies are very they're held to a certain regard and almost a certain constraint with the source material, right? When they did the Mandarin twist in Iron Man 3, the fans revolted.
Yeah.
Like they got over the fact that it was Ben Kingsley because it's Ben Kingsley. They're like, yeah, we like, and all the trailers are like, all right, he looks, you know, it's a little bit more modern. And then he's Trevor Slattery, and we're like, yeah. So I think that this movie actually benefits from the fact that they did not have any constraints whatsoever. Yeah. They didn't have people like, you know, when Michael Keaton got cast, they didn't have those people writing the studio going, you need to not do this right now. Mm-hmm. They had this advantage, you know, and you see it in movies like James Gunn's Super, or even the more obscure comic book characters like Peacemaker or Guardians of the Galaxy, where people didn't have enough of a connection to be like, well, that's not how it was in the comics.
Yeah.
But so
he kind of had with a new character, he could do whatever he wanted here. So he actually, like, he ran into a lot of studio problems too with this. I was reading about this where they screened a cut of the movie. I think there's a cut out there somewhere that exists. It's like almost a 3-hour cut of Darkman.
Release the Raimi cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And they cut it down and they showed a cut to a first of all, even before that. See, Raimi has such a distinct visual style. He's got, you know, all of these, like, you know, when you're watching this, I hope you got to see, like, a lot of similarities between this and Evil Dead. There are those Dutch angles. There's the snap zooms. There's the, you know, all these similar camera tricks. The point of view shots where something's coming at a character and you're following the point of view.
Like the nail gun.
Yes, the nail. Yeah, the bolt gun when he's shooting it, which is very similar to when she pops her eyeball out from Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah. We also have a shot in. I know Rob. So Rob's been very not watching the trailers of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but one of the shots that they constantly refer to in that is a shot of the camera going into Wanda's eye.
Oh, really?
It's a great shot. It's a shot of her covered in, like, blood, and it's very interesting because, say what you will, Marvel does a great job with their trailers, whether it's putting in fake footage or just, like, we remember the trailer for Endgame. We had no clue what was going on.
Yeah, we still don't.
We still don't. I look forward to the day that my wife and I have kids, or Ronnie and his wife have kids, and they're like, we want to watch the MCU. And after
There's such a joy in that.
After Infinity War, we stop it and they go, all right, let's watch the next one. Oh, no.
You have to wait a year.
You wait a year. Here's the trailer. Enjoy.
Yeah.
You live like we lived, young man.
Right?
But so it's funny because, like, you watch a movie like this and you get a chance to kind of see what Sam Raimi can bring to that superhero genre. We loved Evil Dead 2 and we loved Drag Me to Hell, but, like, that episode we talked about it. Like, it was more of a like the style of Sam Raimi.
Sure.
This is a good example of what he can bring to the superhero genre because we talked to, you know, Ronnie loves Thor Ragnarok. He loves it.
And for good cause, too.
And he loves Taika Waititi. And one of my constant complaints about the MCU is, even though they have different directors, for the most part, the movies feel the same. Thor Ragnarok is an example of them not feeling the same. And I'll be the first to admit it. I love Thor Ragnarok. It is a great movie. And I'm very excited to see what Sam Raimi brings.
I'm hoping they give him some free reign. I did see, like, in the trailers, there's a shot of Doctor Strange asleep in bed, and they do, like, a snap zoom to him when he gets up all of a sudden. So I think Raimi will be allowed to do some horror things. I gotta say, you know, why else would they ask Raimi to do it if they were just going to say, no, we want to do it our way?
So Tobey Maguire would be in it.
I was going to say so they can connect his Spider-Man movies.
Now, speaking of...
Wait, hold on. Go back for a second because let me finish. Oh, so they did the test audiences, and the test audiences actually hated it. And also because of this extreme visual style, Sam Raimi shot all this stuff, and the guy who was editing the film had a nervous breakdown in the middle of editing it, and he quit. And so they had to get somebody else to put it together, and they didn't really understand Raimi's style. So they put it together, they put it in front of test audiences, and they hated it. Raimi then like snuck into the editing booth like for weeks at a time and re-edited the whole film the way he wanted it to, and then he handed it to the studio execs, and they're like, wait, this isn't what it is. He goes, yeah, well, we're showing this to the critics in 2 days, so it's too late, you have to use this cut.
Which brings up a whole interesting point. Like, we've talked millions of times about studio interference and how it affects the final product, mostly on the DC side, but also Marvel is, like, Joss Whedon specifically said, I can't do this anymore because who was it? Edgar Wright, who we love.
Yeah.
We love Edgar Wright. He was like, he created all this Ant-Man test footage, and they even used something.
They used it, yeah.
And then he left. He was like, because they're taskmasters. Like, I want to do my thing and do my style. Yeah. But I'm curious to see, or to think about, directors should have a certain amount of how a movie's filmed, but then it always lends to should directors be in the editing room? Should directors put things together like trailers? Zack Snyder's Justice League, he did the editing at the end, and did it work out? Well, that's subjective, in all honesty. As much as I love it, I know it's not... Ronnie enjoyed it, but he's not going to put it back on, mostly because he has my HBO Max. And then Rob's never going to watch it again, but not to say that he didn't appreciate the first.
I respect it. So
this movie is another interesting one. Now, I'm curious to hear from Ronnie because
me too.
Ronnie never saw this movie. I saw this movie years ago. Rob has
deep appreciation
for it. Like, I enjoyed it as a younger lad, but Ronnie, first time seeing Darkman. And especially because you have the perspective that you're spoiled. Superhero movies have they're the normal. For Rob, and this is not an
age dig.
This was when superhero movies were not the sure thing, not the fair bet.
No. Well, even when Raimi was making Spider-Man, nobody I heard this that when Raimi was doing Spider-Man, he wanted to do footage of Peter getting bit, and there's that synapses kind of thing. Yeah. And he's like, he's told the studio, he's like, I need money for this. And they're like, yeah, we don't have any more money. You got to do something else. And like, think about that. That is a studio saying, we don't have enough money for your Spider-Man movie, because that's how uncertain they were of something like that. So he actually stole footage from this film and stuck it in there.
Oh, yeah. And Spider-Man is... we've talked about the original Raimi trilogy before, and Spider-Man, it is the one for a lot of people consider X-Men like the groundbreaker. They even mentioned it in Jane and Silent Bob Strike Back. They're like, once X-Men made it at the box office, that was where it started. And when we talked about Blade a few weeks ago, Blade was the first real big Marvel movie. But for Ronnie.
So actually, for our viewers, our listeners who don't know anything about Darkman, tell us what Darkman's about.
So Darkman is about this dude who basically gets his hands and his face burned off, and
because of corruption,
right? Evil businessman,
real estate,
because of real estate corruption, basically. With is he a DA or is he just a lawyer?
He was just the scientist. Remember?
Yeah, he was a scientist.
Well, no, him. I'm talking about the dude that's corrupt. Was he?
He was.
I know he's a lawyer of some type. I don't know if he's like a big wig, like DA or whatever
he was in charge of revitalizing the city.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember it, and we're going to do this, I think, in August. RoboCop. Do you remember RoboCop at all?
I remember RoboCop.
It has a lot of RoboCop vibes in terms of like city revitalization.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about because themes.
Yeah.
Constant themes.
So basically, that's like the underlying like story to it
Which is not a very good story. No, that's not the point though.
Yeah, but basically this dude gets burned and everyone thinks he's dead, but he's not, and he's also a scientist that's been working on how to basically do like skin grafts without using your own skin. So basically, developing fake skin to last. And he kind of figures out a way to do it eventually.
But only for
99 minutes.
Right.
So and then basically he's just trying to get revenge in a way, so he puts on different faces and everything. And that's really all it's about.
That's the whole thing.
That's the movie.
Like
that's the movie.
And that's what I love about the movie, because it's not about the plot. It's about the character. So what did you think about this movie, about Darkman?
I disliked it.
Oh no!
Yeah. It could be because this is my first time watching it. It came out in 1990 or whatever. Yeah. But
are you spoiled? Is that why?
I maybe, but you know what? My challenge was, you can't understand him more than half the time, right? Also, it's just so goofy, so stupid. It's almost like making fun of the superhero genre.
Yeah, there's some like Three Stooges comedy that is, and that's Raimi's style, that he likes throwing that in. He puts in comedy, but he plays it straight.
Yeah.
Like Darkman is like running really fast on top of a truck, but no one's laughing at it.
No, yeah. And it's just a lot of stuff in it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, okay, because he got burned, he now has like superpowers. Because like you see him like being like super strong, super fast, and all these things,
he has heightened. What is it? Heightened
due to the adrenal output of like him constantly. It's about the skin. It's like they explain it.
It's not. And I love the hospital scene when he's strapped to that spinning thing, and the nurse and the doctor is like, "Look, he doesn't feel any pain," and she shoves a needle into his leg or something like that to prove it.
American healthcare.
I agree with you. It's dumb.
Yeah,
it's silly. It's ridiculous.
And just the whole ending. The last, I don't know, 15, to be honest with you, watching the movie, I was like, I'm going to turn this off.
I will tell you, yes, I agree with you that the third act kind of suffers from a very basic superhero damsel in distress kind of thing. But isn't that Raimi? Like, think about all three Spider-Men that at the end, Mary Jane is hanging from something that needs to be rescued.
She's always wet, too.
Yeah, right? I don't know. I just didn't like it. And to me, there's a lot of editing problems, maybe, I want to say. Like, so for instance, we're talking about the ending scene where, I can't remember his name, the lawyer dude is shooting the bolt gun at him. Well, when he rips his hand off, his hand gets bolted to the I-frame.
Oh, Strack. Yeah.
And he pulls it away, and he punches him. When he falls down, where'd the bolt gun go?
Oh, yeah. No, there's
there's a lot of stuff
continuity.
Like that. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff like that just didn't happen. Where I'm like, but what happened to this? What happened to that? What happened? And stuff. So like,
and all the reasons you're saying you didn't like it are all the reasons I do like it, because the movie moves so fast, and like things get thrown at you so quickly that you don't have a chance to really like think about. Like, for example, the fact that they're like, oh, we found this burnt man in the river, and we don't know where he came from. Could it be from the giant explosion that's 100 feet away? Why didn't they put that together? But you just go with it. Go with it.
Like, my thing too is the building exploded. How did this dude get the copy with the coffee stain on it? Like, shouldn't that have burned up?
Well, he did pocket it.
He did?
Yeah, Durant came in and all his cronies, and he pocketed it why didn't he burn it up though?
Yeah,
to get rid of the evidence.
There's like so much stuff that I'm like, but why? Like,
it would have been better if he did burn up, because then she wouldn't have found out at the end.
So this movie, we talked about themes and common tropes, right? There's nothing better than a superhero trope, because say what you will, most superheroes have at least some of the common tropes. Orphan, unlimited money, a specialized skill set that nobody else has. Badass business tycoon is a bad guy. Like, this was a movie that was not only relegated by superhero tropes, but also tropes of the 90s.
Absolutely.
Rob mentioned RoboCop.
Yeah.
This movie is interchangeable for me so here, just to throw it back. Ronnie and I are children of the 90s. We grew up during the 90s where we were watching a nice combination of 90s kids shows up till 90s adult shows. Yes. And, Rob's a little bit older than us, so he was watching those 90s adult shows and basically 90s adult shows.
Right, yeah.
He wasn't watching Full House.
No.
I don't think.
No, I wasn't.
But we were.
Yeah.
So we have...
Yeah, I was the different strokes generation.
So for us, Ronnie and I saw a lot of these movies a little bit later when they were all out and they were all part of this 90s generation. And for me, this movie was interchangeable with The Shadow.
Yes.
RoboCop.
Agreed.
The Crow.
Ah, yes.
Yep. And even to a point, The Phantom.
You know what?
Oh, with Billy Zane, yeah.
With Billy Zane.
Yeah.
I got a lot of Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes, there was, absolutely.
And
There
that's
was a
the other
Hunchback.
thing.
With the don't look at me.
Yeah.
As Disney,
Totally, I'm hideous.
and it's worse for me and Ronnie because we also grew up on Disney, where that was like at the forefront of our mind, so everything related to it. So we talk about we're going to eventually talk about movies like The Crow, especially when the reboot's getting close. RoboCop's this summer, I believe.
It is.
Even movies like Kick-Ass and Super and these other more obscure. I love Kick-Ass.
That's coming up soon.
I will defend Kick-Ass because I'm so ready to compare it to the comics. But this movie, does it hold up is the biggest question. Because I can watch The Crow.
Yeah.
I can put on The Crow right now and watch it. This movie, I don't think I could.
Not recommend this to anyone.
I was surprised by how well it held up for me. Like and here's the thing. Again, for all the reasons you're saying you didn't like it, or for all the reasons I love it.
So, do you think it holds up because of nostalgia berries?
No. I think it holds up because it's Raimi, and if you when you buy into a Raimi film, you kind of just have to say, I'm going to accept what's coming my way, no matter what happens. Because there is some ridiculous, the scene. One of the best scenes is at the carnival when he's trying to get the pink elephant for her, and when he starts to it's like a superhero turning where the background breaks up into things.
The Hulk.
Yeah, the Hulk. It goes into his eye. It comes out, and for everything that happens in that moment is just absolutely brilliant and hysterical. And so scary at the same time. And if you're willing to buy into that, this movie works really, really well.
So for me, this movie, I love Superman the movie. I love it. I love it to death. But I would be the first person to be like, I skipped the first 35 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Even Man of Steel, I'll put on Man of Steel, and I love Man of Steel, but I kind of, I'm like, all right, this is the boring parts. So, Ronnie, for you, if you had seen this movie for the first time, right now you're 32?
32.
32. Yep. 32-year-old Ronnie is seeing this movie, first superhero movie ever. Do you think you'd have a different opinion? You've never seen another superhero movie before.
Maybe.
Okay.
Because, again, 32-year-old me would still notice all the mishaps.
Okay.
Sure.
32-year-old me would still not be able to understand 3/4 of what Darkman is saying. 32-year-old me would also realize that if you don't have lips, you can't pronounce the letter P, you can't pronounce the letter F, things like that.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. like all those things that
How was he enunciating without lips?
Sit here and go, so what, maybe if I've never seen another superhero movie in my life, with the exception of Morbius, because it's probably better than Morbius.
Boss move.
Yes, this would score maybe slightly higher than what I'm going to give it, as a Star City rating. Slightly higher, but it still has a lot of flaws and everything. And, I respect the movie.
Yeah.
I will say that, because 1990, we haven't really had any successful, quote-unquote, superhero movies.
With the exception of Batman and...
Yeah. So I can see, all right, if this is my first introduction to superheroes, not, no Batman, no, Superman, Christopher Reeves kind of stuff and everything, it might turn me off from superheroes.
Okay.
So, since we're on it, and you brought it up, Star City rating for Darkman.
Ooh, I might have to give us a 2.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
slightly
Okay.
below average.
Slightly below average because again, I respect it.
Okay.
I did love the shots, the cinematography of it, and everything.
Right.
Because again, that's just Sam Raimi doing Sam
Oh, yeah.
Raimi and everything. And I think everyone can agree that when it comes to cinematography and everything, he's a genius.
Yeah.
Right. That saves it, and Danny Elfman saves it. I love the score.
I was thinking about you
Yeah.
when I was listening to it because I know how much you love like Nightmare Before
Exactly.
Christmas and Danny
Yeah.
Elfman. So
like the score is very good as well with it and everything. It was funny. I'm listening to it, and I don't know if it was either on air or off air. You were like, "Yeah, give me Batman kind of vibes
Yeah,
and everything," because he just right before this was Dick Tracy. The one before
Tracy
was
was-
We have to
Batman.
talk about that movie at some
we
point.
will.
And then not right after, but 2 years later, he did Batman again.
Yeah.
So
and Dick Tracy was only I think 2 months before Darkman.
yeah, something.
Because I think it came out in June of 1990.
He essentially was working on both of them at the same time, almost,
or
you know?
maybe 91. I forget.
Yeah.
Such a great movie.
So, but yeah, I'll give this a
Okay.
2. It's got a lot
fair.
of flaws. I respect it. There are things that I did like. That's why I'm giving it, slightly below average of 2.
All right, Rob, hit it.
Okay, so here we go. So what I love about this movie is that yes, it's not perfect. It's got a ton of like the plot is terrible. It's a
Yeah.
real estate developer, and there are so many
Scooby Doo was out to get him too.
so many goofy things, and like so much of it doesn't make sense. But I will argue that it has way more style in filmmaking than most other superhero movies. Like take for example the scene where they beat up Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
They take him and they like shove him face first into like a glass case.
Yeah.
And at first, and they take it, it's almost Three Stooges where he goes into one case, then he goes into the other
Yeah.
case. And then you're seeing it from Liam Neeson's point of view. And then you're seeing it from the
Yeah.
glass's point of view. And like watching then with his hands when they start decomposing, there's that great like time lapse stop animation that's
Yeah.
happening. There's so many like just fun, creative choices. And like, not for nothing, but like think about the current Spider-Man movies and what Tom Watts is capable, or
Yeah.
or is it John Watts?
John Watts.
It's capable,
Yeah.
but what like if I were to ask you what is John Watts' style? I don't know if any of us
Whatever
could
he
really.
wants it
Yeah,
to be.
I don't know if any of us could ever say.
Yeah.
So that's why I love Sam Raimi. I love the influences from the MonsterVerse that comes in here. I love his little Dutch angles and everything. I love the Sam Raimi nods, like the fact that at the end we get Bruce Campbell at the end there. Also, I don't know if you knew this. Bruce
He was supposed to be.
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, Sam Raimi wanted him in the Liam Neeson role, and he didn't.
Who else was supposed to?
Bill Paxton.
Yeah, a few
right?
people, yeah.
Bill Paxton and Liam Neeson were friends at the time, and Bill Paxton said to Liam Neeson, "Hey, I'm going to go try out for this movie." And Liam Neeson's like, "Oh, maybe I'll try out too." And he got the part, and Bill Paxton did talk to him for like 4 months. But yeah, also Bruce Campbell did ADR on this.
Oh, that's funny.
That whenever you hear him shout "Julie," that's Bruce Campbell. Also, another fun fact, and I mentioned this on the last one podcast, that Sam Raimi used to live with Joel and Ethan Coen and with Frances McDormand, who plays Julie. Joel and Ethan Coen are supposedly driving the Oldsmobile in traffic, and also they did an uncredited script rewrite on this film too.
Common Hollywood thing.
Yeah, and it's neat to see Frances McDormand in it, who's like 23 or 24 years old at this. It's a fun movie. It's so many like great just little touches from him. It's so gothic and tragic, and I screamed when I saw that Delta 88 in there in traffic. I'm like, oh my god, it's the Oldsmobile. Here's the best line from the movie, and I think this sums it up. When Frances McDormand says, "If you're not going to kill me, I have things to do." And to me, it's that deadpan seriousness, funny and scary all at the same time. So I'm going to give Darkman a solid 3.5 out of 5.
Solid,
I think it's
I
it's not the best. I like Evil Dead is still like just incredible. I would watch this, I think, over Drag Me to Hell, but I'd say it's similar.
I thought you were going to say the best line was "had to break it off."
Oh, when he says
With Eddie Black.
Oh right,
talking about
the machine. I completely forgot about
once with the
I-
one leg.
what happened.
I had to break it off.
I forgot about the guy with the machine gun leg, that he's just standing there hopping while they're shooting people. And then, like, it's such a great little Raimi touch that the guy is still hopping, and then the guy next to him just holds his arm out and stuff so he can hang on to it. Like, this is what we do all the time. Like,
I'd do that for you, Ronnie. Don't worry.
It's just a fun little... it's got so much character to this movie. Paul.
So for me, I give it a solid 2.5 out of 5. Okay. It is run-of-the-mill average, and I think I'll be honest, I'm spoiled by by the superhero genre at this point. I'm still the person that will watch Steel or The Crow.
I have not seen Steel yet.
You have not seen Steel yet.
August, that's coming.
For me, because this was the first time watching it, it's a toss-up between Steel and this movie.
Oh, okay.
But Steel for me is this for you, Rob. It is Steel is such a crappy movie, but it has so much like just you laugh at it and you enjoy it, and like I could put it on and I'd be like, man, Shaq, just lay down.
I think it's the heart. I think because this movie, and it sounds like Steel too, just has so much good intentions and heart in it that it's like, you know what, this is worth it just for that.
This movie also reminds me, and this is a deep cut, the movie Double Dragon. I don't know why, but it's just like it has this similar mentality. And for those of you guys who have not seen the Double Dragon movie, Double Dragon was huge in the 90s. Well, there was the cartoon series and the arcade game. So, like, as kids of the 90s, you knew
I'm sorry, I was wrong on that.
Yeah, you were.
Double Dragon is from 1994.
Yeah, it was very Power Rangers-esque. It was like
Robert Patrick.
He's the bad guy in it too, which is even funnier. But that, like, it's the same kind of like it just all falls into this similar genre. So for me, I give it a solid 2.5. Liam Neeson, you can't go wrong with Liam Neeson unless
this was his first big action role. Too.
Yeah, and
there was action.
But like I'll if you guys are a comic book fan, if you're a Sam Raimi fan, you know this movie already. You've probably already seen it. I recommend it. You need to. For comic book fans, I think there's something to be said about going back to our roots, especially in the early. Like everybody knows Batman and Superman from the 80s and 90s and all that, but I think to look back at some of those really early superhero concepts, because Darkman it leans into it. Like here's my costume. Like here's this. Steel's the same way. He is. I don't want to say comic book accurate, but they wanted a 6'5" black guy who looks like John Henry Irons, and they put him in the full suit. And in all honesty, like this is before it was socially okay for superhero movies to go balls to the wall. Look at X-Men. X-Men was like, they make fun of what would you rather do? Yellow spandex? Yeah. So I recommend it. But
I have a question to ask you guys real quick too. And you might not remember it because it's been a while, but you just saw it.
7.
Would you have imagined that this was rated R?
No.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying
to be honest with you, I would see PG.
Yeah, they dropped the F-bomb twice because he says, "Give me the effing elephant." And there's some it's goofy makeup and everything. So and I'm saying this because there are some people who are like, "Oh no, it's R-rated Sam Raimi and it's probably gross and hard." This should have been like PG-13 nowadays, I think at best, and it's pretty tame by today's standards. So I would. It's charming. I would definitely encourage people to check. Even though you only gave it 2 stars, would you encourage people to check it out at all for any reason? Give me a reason why someone should check this out.
To appreciate Morbius.
I will say it's got a better runtime than Morbius. It's shorter.
Yeah. I think if you want to watch this movie, watch it because of Sam Raimi. If you've never seen Sam Raimi and you want to get yourself kind of in the Sam Raimi mindset for Multiverse of Madness, this is something good to watch. Obviously there's better Sam Raimi movies, but when it comes to superhero, I honestly don't think Multiverse of Madness is going to be anything like his Spider-Man movies. I think it's going to be more kind of, in a way, more like Darkman, but more modernized.
Yeah, and probably a bit tighter in terms of just logic.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I like that. Very nice.
Yeah. All right, so here we are, Fan Feedback Friday.
All right,
my favorite. Yeah, I'm all about fan feedback.
This was a great one.
So for those of you guys who don't know, I literally sit in my office at work and I'm sitting there going, man, what's something I haven't done yet? Then this one was a lot of fun.
Yes.
So this week, what is the worst comic book superpower of all time? And I specifically said the more obscure, the better. Like, I had to look some of these up, and that is always fun for me. So I appreciate you guys.
Good thing I gave you a reference.
But if you guys want to participate in Fan Feedback Friday, make sure you guys find us on Facebook, because this was a blast. So let's see. We have the one mutant who was really radioactive in the Ultimates universe and took out a whole town. Again, I have to look that up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Our friend Davin wrote, Hindsight Lad has the ability to determine how something should have happened only after it already occurred. I want to say that's a Legion of Superheroes, and Legion of Superheroes was notorious for their weird superheroes. Kite Man, simply because he uses a kite. Fruit Boy, has the power to cause fruit to ripen. Wasn't there an X-Men? That's in quotes.
Yes.
Who made people vomit? No thanks, I'm good. #.
Thanks, Tyler. Hi, Tyler. I miss you.
That was funny. Marvel Star Fox, who has the power of super seduction. And yeah, that's true. Star Fox is a man whore.
Not really a good crime-fighting tool.
Yeah.
It is.
You disagree?
I would disagree.
If the bad guys are coming,
I would seduce them. They'd be there, and then you put handcuffs on them.
Let's see. Callisto from X-Men at one point had tentacles for arms. Could be useful, but mostly not. Also, I think there was one that could control squirrels. Squirrel Girl. Our friend Korea.
One of the most powerful.
Yeah. Dazzler, who was a cross promotion with the band Kiss, who was able to turn sounds into light and stuff. So, fun fact about Dazzler, they used her in the X-Men arcade game, which has a huge nostalgic fan base. And in the game, her power is actually good. And she made a cameo in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in Dark Phoenix. I wrote Maggot from X-Men. Literally, he had 2 giant maggots that came out of his body and could eat anything. Yep.
That sounds like a medical issue.
Yep. The character of Jazz, who had the ability to turn blue at any given moment. Love it. Doorman had the ability to change into a door. From producer Melanie, Condiment King. Nothing beats the opening of the Lego Batman movie, where he lists all of them, and Condiment King's the last one.
Condiment King. You're making some of these up. Nope. Might be worth a Google.
All real. Probably worth a Google. Gambit's throwing playing cards. Who, ironically, Gambit is one of the more powerful X-Men. He became a Horseman of Apocalypse.
It's throwing an ace of spades.
Yeah. And Rainbow Girl, who has the power of the emotional spectrum. So, yeah, that's going to wrap us up, guys. Don't forget, if you guys want to participate in Fan Feedback Friday, make sure you guys find us on Facebook, the Multiverse Fan Cast, or you can join our Facebook group, the Misfit Faction Media Network. It is a private group, quote unquote. Just send us a request. We will let you in. Ronnie's in charge of it. He's a nice guy.
I am. I'm pretty nice.
Yeah.
When I want to be.
So, Ronnie, what are some other ways that people can get in touch with a guy like you in regards to our podcast, because you're happily married?
So, number one is go to our website, themisfitfaction.com. We have links to all our social media on there, as well as Rob and Paul's articles and writings on there, as well as links to all of our podcasts and their episodes. And then obviously on social media, you can find us on Facebook, the Multiverse Fan Cast. You can also find us on Instagram at themisfitfaction.com. And we do have a Twitter that we kind of sort of don't really, but kind of do use as well.
I use the Twitter.
You tweet?
I do tweet. I do tweet our new episodes. I don't tweet content.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, you can find our episodes on there, just no other kind of content and everything. And don't forget, we also have our store. So we have a new MF Uncensored hoodie on there, as well as shirts for all 3 of our shows and our mother, board station or whatever you want to call it, the Misfit Faction. And then also stickers that you could put on your laptop, notebooks, different things like that. Maybe you have a Yeti water bottle, all that kind of good stuff and everything. And we're going to be adding a little bit more to that store in the next, couple weeks or so too.
Now that the weather's getting nice.
Yeah.
But that's going to wrap us up. We are going to be back next week. I believe Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange, is going to be on the docket. And then we are going to be talking about the Multiverse Madness the following week. So... yeah.
Yay.
So that's going to wrap us up for tonight. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Ronnie.
I'm Rob.
And we will be back in a flash.
See ya.
What did he just say? I didn't understand.
What was that?
I don't know. He's wearing a mask.